Nuttall, leader of UKIP.
Tonight you will see that there's only one party that is going into this election which is truly committed to the Brexit that people voted for on June the 23rd last year. And that is a Brexit whereby we are back in control of our own laws, of our own borders and of our own money. It is also a Brexit whereby we take back full control of our waters and sign free trade deals all over the world. UKIP is also the only party going into this election with a clear and honest commitment to reducing immigration through a policy of balanced migration. You will also see that we are the only party that is committed to cutting a foreign aid budget that is costing you, the British taxpayer, around £30 million every single day. And we want to reinvest that money into our National Health Service. And it should be a national health service, not an international health service. Finally, Brexit would never have happened if it wasn't for UKIP. We have taken you so far. Elect UKIP MPs and give us the tools to see this through.
Paul Nuttall, thank you.
If elected, how would your party negotiate a safe, beneficial and worthwhile deal with Europe for Britain? Will this deal be better than pre-Brexit?
Of course, the deal will be better because it couldn't be much worse than the deal that we've had whilst we've been within the European Union. And I encourage the Prime Minister and David Davis, when you go into these negotiations, be bold, have courage, promote how great our country actually is, and accept that in many ways the European Union needs us far more than we need it. We have a huge trading deficit with the EU. There are 6 million jobs on the continent which are dependent on British trade. And I want to say to the Prime Minister, be bold on immigration, because when people voted to leave the European Union, they didn't just vote to control our borders, they voted to control immigration. Say no to any divorce bill that is put on the table, because since we've been members of this club, we've paid in over £180 billion in membership fee alone. The deal will be better, but only if Theresa May and David Davis have backbone. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Nicola. I do want to see the issue as to whether EU migrants can stay in this country decided and sorted out pretty quickly, just as I want it sorted out for British people who live abroad. However, you're saying I'm the spokesman for Theresa May. I don't believe that she'll get the best deal possible for Britain. I think she'll begin to backslide. I think she'll backslide on fisheries. I think she'll sell out our fishermen once again like a former Tory Prime Minister once did in Ted Heath. I think there'll be some sort of dodgy deal over freedom of movement as well. And I think she'll capitulate and we'll pay a divorce bill. Okay. The only way you'll get the real Brexit that people want and the real Brexit that people voted for on June the 23rd is by electing UKIP MPs to the House of Commons on June the 8th. Yeah, I mean, look, the problem that you've got with immigration at the moment is that there are simply too many people coming to the country. Last year alone, it was a city the size of Newcastle upon Tyne net. OK? We're adding a Birmingham every 3 years. It's unsustainable. Even Theresa May said last year in the House of Commons that the immigration level that we have at the moment is economically neutral. Trade unions have said it's led to wage stagnation in working class communities. The Bank of England have admitted that that is the case too. The problem that we have is quite simply we're letting too many people come. The only way you solve it is by having an Australian points-based system whereby we have the right to say who comes and who doesn't come to us.
But Australia's got much bigger immigration levels than we've got here.
Let's go to Nicola Sturgeon.
Having worked in the National Health Service, both in hospitals and in the community, until I was diagnosed in my early 50s with multiple sclerosis, I am fully aware of care needs for others and myself. I am extremely concerned about the funding of the NHS and social care going forward to make sure that everyone gets the help they need and deserve. What will you do to make sure they do?
Of course, we are a growing population, and as we spoke about earlier, immigration plays a large part on that. And if we continue on the road that we're on at the moment, the population will be 80 million by the middle of this century. It's unsustainable. It puts pressure on the NHS. It puts pressure, of course, on social care. What the NHS needs is more money. And my party is committed to putting £6 billion extra every single year into the National Health Service. This will fund 20,000 new nurses, 10,000 new GPs and allow us to scrap hospital car parking charges, which are nothing more than a tax on the sick. We also will put 1.4 billion a year into social care. And how would we pay for this? Well, we would take that money directly from a foreign aid budget, which is costing us around £13 billion every single year. We would cut that back to 0.2% of GDP, which is exactly the same as it was in the United States under Barack Obama. Yeah, I mean, I highlighted at the beginning exactly where we would take the money. We would directly transfer that money from the foreign aid budget, which is costing us £30 million every single day.
And there'd be more refugees then, yeah? Hang on.
Actually, if we reduce foreign aid to 0.2%, as I said earlier, it'll be the same as the United States under Obama. The point is...
No, it's stopping refugees coming in.
This is about the low-hanging fruit.
There's
no need to put up taxation to pay for this. We can simply take it from the foreign aid budget and put British people first. Charity begins at home.
Come on, Paul.
We're talking here, Jill, about very briefly...
stopping EU migration as a whole. We want a points-based system. If there is a gap in our economy...
You said your immigration sector
let me finish.
You said you wanted to reduce it to nothing.
Net, OK? One in, one out. A points-based system. If there's gaps in our economy, then people can come here and work.
Thank you, Mr Nuttall. Tim Farron.
Life is hard at the moment. The prices of my weekly shopping is continue to rise. My rent and bill are increasing, but wages and benefits haven't gone up. Money isn't stretching as far as used to be, and it is hard to balance everything. How is your part going to help people like me?
What we want to do in UKIP is we want to put more money in people's pockets. We know that there's been a stagnation of living standards in recent years, and how we will put money in people's pockets is, firstly, we would scrap VAT on domestic fuel bills. We would also scrap the green levies, which will save the average household £170 every single year. We'd increase the personal allowance, so you would have to be earning over £13,000 before you paid any tax. That will put more money in your pocket. UKIP will also oppose any rise in national insurance, because we believe as a party that people know how to spend their own money better than any government does on their behalf. We're a party of a small state. We believe that people know what best to do with their own money. Yeah, on fuel bills, as I said earlier, we would take VAT off domestic fuel bills altogether and do away with green levies, which will put more money in your pocket. And one of the reasons that wages have stagnated in recent years, and have probably stagnated since about 2004, is because of the levels of immigration. We have an oversupply of labour.
That's the answer to everything, isn't it?
We have an oversupply of labour in this country. It is as simple as that. Now, as for Tim talking before about us falling off the cliff edge, it's simply not true. You were the same people who went round talking about Project Fear before the referendum. You know, let's just look. Unemployment is down. Manufacturing is up. The FTSE's at record levels with the fastest growing economy.
Let me bring thank you, Mr Nuttall.
Given you are David Davis's representative on this
programme. Thank you, Mr Farron. Let's just bring in Caroline Lucas. Thank you, gentlemen. Caroline Lucas.
We're talking about an increase in rents and people not being able to afford to pay rent. That's simply because we're not building enough houses. We're not building enough houses at the moment. You know, we have a problem.
We're building 100.
Hang on, we're building 140.
You'll need migrant labour.
Hang on, we're building 140.
You will. You'll build no houses without the vote.
Maybe if we trained enough of our own people, we wouldn't. Okay?
What's the unemployment rate?
Let me finish. Hold on. Let me just finish. Okay. About 140,000 houses per year that we're building at the moment, OK? 80,000 of those are swallowed up by immigration alone.
Oh, there you are.
I'm sorry,
well, can I
but they are facts. We are not building enough houses.
OK, thank you. And I just draw...
Well, firstly, what we would do is we would scrap HS2, which is nothing but a white elephant, which is only there to benefit London. That will save us £50 billion. We will then... have an industrial strategy which will promote employment. But let's not forget the opportunities that Brexit will give us once we leave the European Union. We'll be able to sign trade deals all over the globe.
With America?
Sorry?
With America, with
yes,
Donald Trump. And
why not?
hormone-filled beef and chlorinated chicken. That would be fantastic for the
why not sign?
We could have another
why not sign a free trade deal with the biggest economy in the world?
No, we're in it now. We're in the biggest economy in the world now. We're in the single market now.
Let Mr Nuttall finish.
We can sign free trade deals with India, with China. Our economy can boom off the back of trade. That's the way we will get the economy moving. And the only reason we have these opportunities, the only reason we have these opportunities is because the people were sensible enough to vote to leave the European Union last year. I think it's an absolute scandal that 500,000 kids in this country go to primary school or in classes with over 30 other children in them, considering that Tony Blair gave a commitment that there would be no class sizes over 30 about 14 years ago. I agree with Tim. I would do away with SATs for infant school-age children. Also, the problem that we have is so many teachers are leaving the profession. And they're leaving the profession because they're overworked. And they're overworked under a deluge of paperwork, schemes of work, individual lesson plans. What you need to do is to strip the paperwork back, strip back the bureaucracy, and let our teachers do what they do best, which is teach our young people to the best of their ability.
I'm a primary school teacher, so the care and education of our young people is very important to me. What would you do to support teachers in schools to ensure that every child gets the best start in life, regardless of their backgrounds?
I believe in academic selection. Always have done. I believe that we don't have enough grammar schools in this country. We have 164 at the moment. We need more. But the problem that you have is that the majority of these grammar schools are in middle-class areas. We need to get them into working-class areas, which then allow working-class kids to break out of their communities. It is a disgrace that there were more working-class kids in Oxford and Cambridge in the 1960s than there is now. However, what we also must do is promote vocational education, which has often been the poor relative of academia. And I would look at the German system for this, because they have something called the dual vocational training system, whereby you attend a vocational school, but at the same time, you receive on-the-job training. It's why Germany has kept its manufacturing industry.
A lot of policies are being directed towards the older generation. I was a mature student and talked to many younger students who felt frustrated. The younger generation are facing a lot of challenges, such as tuition fees, job insecurity and expensive housing costs. A lot of feeling that they don't have much hope for the future. If you are elected, what will you do for the younger generation to help them feel more positive about their future?
Well, firstly, we would scrap HS2, which would save 50 billion immediately. We would also scrap the Barnett formula, which would give fairness to England, and that would save an extra £5 billion.
So
and
that's
of course,
taking money away from Scotland and Wales, incidentally.
Yeah, well, actually, you know, in Scotland, you're getting £1,700 extra per head than the English. It's all built on English taxpayers' money. That's why you have free prescriptions.
Scottish people pay taxes as well.
Fees, and that's why you have no hospital car parking charges. It's also we're paying for it. So the simple fact is there would also be an EU dividend when we leave the European Union.
Really?
Hang on.
Where's your bus?
We're going to the health service, or where?
Where's your bus?
Let him finish.
Okay.
Where's your bus?
Okay. We will save £10 billion a year in
the bus is going to come driving past any minute.
350 million a week.
£10 billion in membership fee alone that will easily allow us to build 250,000.
It's costing us £290 million a week.
Thank you.
All tuition fees do is simply preclude students from going to university. They need to be taken away. We need to go back to a system of student grants. But the point is, and this is someone that nobody else on this platform will admit, that there are far too many people going to university at this present moment in time.
Hold on,
let me finish. Tony Blair Tony Blair had a policy that 50% of all 18-year-olds should go to university. Last year, 46% of students left university and took a job whereby you didn't need a degree. Okay. We need to reduce the number of students going to university, then we could scrap tuition fees and go back to student grants.
But which students would you stop from going to university then? Would you stop the ones that are coming from the poorest backgrounds, perhaps? How do you decide to reduce the number of students?
No, you reduce the number of courses. I mean, there are a number of non-courses in our universities, right across the board at the moment, that add nothing to our economy.
Okay,
so the question was aimed at, obviously, how we look after our elderly. And the point is, the elderly in this country at the moment get a really raw deal. What we need is a flexible state pension that allows people to take their pension younger if they choose. We also should be committed to keeping the triple lock to ensure that pensioners get a fair deal, and we will fight tooth and nail the new announcement by the Tories today, which basically amounts to a death tax which punishes people for simply living.
Now I'd like to ask each leader in turn to give their concluding thoughts this evening. First, Paul Nuttall, leader of the UK Independence Party.
Well, tonight you've heard it from the mouths of the other party leaders, or at least the ones who bothered to turn up, that they simply don't believe in Brexit. They don't believe we're big enough, we're strong enough, and simply they don't believe we're good enough to be a free, democratic and independent state on the world stage. Unlike them, I do. I believe that this is a fantastic country. So if, like me, you believe immigration needs to be reduced, you believe that foreign aid needs to be cut, you believe that our National Health Service needs more investment and that our armed forces need to be bolstered, then you know what to do. If you also believe we need more bobbies on the beat and that our elderly need to be looked after, then please go out and vote UKIP on June 8th, because together we really can put the great back into Britain.